Welcome in to the Incredible Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Zach, joined with Garrett and Braden as always. Gentlemen, how are you doing tonight?
What's up, dudes? How we
What's
doing?
up, dudes?
What's up, dudes?
Doing great, man. I mean, we said it last week. I'll say it again. We are back now. I mean, we've had some drafts already done. Got the big draft coming up next week. We're a week and 2 days away from real football. It's great.
It's so funny how it ramps up this time of year. It's like it felt like we were like months, and it was kind of, I don't know. You get the monthly progression, like, oh, training camp's happening or the draft or whatever. But now it's like this is when it gets serious. And I mean, you saw all those notifications coming through today, all the roster cut downs. It just feels like everything's accelerating, and it's pumping me up.
Yeah, there's a lot of action going on, and this next week's going to be like the calm before the storm, and very excited. Week one's right around the corner, but tonight we're going to be focusing on our my guys for the year, our ADP targets and fades. A lot of individual player takes, guys that we're targeting, guys we don't like this year. Very excited to get into that, but I think we'll start off with just our latest news. Kind of sort of our puff pieces that we just talk about headlines and injury updates before we get into our picks. So, um, I Garrett's obviously got the biggest headline of the day. What do you got for news for us this week, Garrett?
It wasn't on our agenda here, but it needs to be said. America's couple got engaged. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelsey. It was hilarious. I was going to let the dog out today. Driving the car. It's on the way back. I hear it on the radio. So this is like fresh, like couple minutes out. I get home and Vanessa immediately already knows within 10 minutes, 5 minutes that
Oh yeah,
Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift are engaged.
breaks the
Yeah,
internet.
mine was they
Now,
broke the news over ESPN app, and then Trisha
Yeah,
literally, yeah,
it's
the
like,
exact same thing. Like 5 minutes messaged me. Oh my gosh, Taylor Swift. I was like, I beat you. ESPN got me.
yeah, ESPN got it for us. They got the hookup. I love how that needs to be an
now
alert.
is th- this is gonna, I think, impact Kelsey and the Chiefs. Either he is gonna be a top 4 tight end this year, or a bottom 20 tight end because with the engagement, he was clearly off
Yep.
last year. He says he's refocused this year. I'm curious to see how this affects his play and the Chiefs' play this year.
I believe it, man. I mean, you're dating the biggest pop artist in the world, or now you're engaged. You got your one last season. You got trying to go out on top. You got to be good, man. I think he's gonna be back, and then calling it a day. I think he's gonna go out on top, just end his career, retire.
All right, we'll see. Let's get into some real news here. The biggest thing in the last week, I think, was Terry McLaurin finally signing his 3-year, $96 million extension. Um, you guys in on Terry McLaurin now that he signed that contract? His ADP had fallen a little bit in the last couple weeks because people were nervous that he hadn't signed that contract, and I think people, industry experts thought he was a little bit overvalued going into the draft cycle. But now that his ADP's fallen, are you in? Are you out? What are your thoughts on Terry McLaurin right now?
I like Terry. I mean, Jaden was so good last year. Terry was his favorite target. I mean, if I think that Jaden could make another second year leap and be, an elite quarterback like we're drafting him to be in fantasy football. He could get to that level in real football too, but could have also just been lightning in a bottle. But I mean, it's I'm not opposed to betting on it. And then I mean, Terry's always been a good receiver, and he's clearly the number one there. He's gonna get volume, and I mean, we'll just see what he can do with it. But I mean, 13 touchdowns is tough to repeat, but I'm definitely not low on him.
Yeah, I think that's what I was gonna say. Is just he's definitely due for some touchdown regression, but I mean to say he's not locked in for the top 24, I mean for sure, and I think top 20 even for sure. It's just
Mhm.
is he gonna be that guy that wins you the league at ADP? I don't know, but he's a rock solid pick.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna lose you your league, but he might not win you your
That's
league this
fair.
year. Um, there was a lot of injury news and notes, with the 53-man roster cut downs. Guys were placed on the pup, guys were placed on the short-term IR, long-term IR. So injury updates here. Joe Mixon officially out 4 games. Could be
Probably more.
more for yeah, probably more. It's still a situation where we don't really know what's going on with his foot. So you got Nick Chubb, you got Damian Pierce, and you got Woody Marks. You taking a shot on any of those 3 guys?
Not in a small redraft. I mean, maybe in a 12 team, you might take a shot on. I guess it goes Chubb, Marks, Pierce in in that order. But I mean, I don't really love any of them.
I think Chubb is a fine last round pick. Just to see how he does week 1. If he sucks, great, drop him. You can add a waiver wire target week 1. But if he gets 20 carries, then you might actually found something in the last
That's
round.
that's that's true.
Totally. I am starting to warm up a little bit to Pierce, but not, not in any kind of crazy way, but just, like you said, like a last round flyer or someone to throw in, see what happens.
It's just that ambiguous backfield. I mean, you just don't know. I mean, maybe grab there's a reason to grab all 3 of them and just see if somebody holds after the first week or 2. I mean, you never know. It's a weird
Oh,
situation.
totally.
Another injury with the running back here, Tajay Spears was placed on the pup, so he's going to miss at least 4 games. So Tony Pollard's going to get all that workload for Tennessee. His ADP is rising, but I think a lot of people are still in on him. Would you guys draft Pollard at ADP? Yes or no?
Yep.
Yeah, I think even at this point, I'd be willing to reach on him a little bit. It's all up to Cam Ward on if he can be some kind of, league winner at ADP. But I mean, he's a starting running back and he's going to get great volume. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah. I'm in on him at ADP, especially those first 4 weeks. If he has a good 4 weeks, you could maybe trade him in a package to go get a guy a tier or 2 above him, just based on that early season
Especially with
production.
Tajay coming back. I
Um,
mean, we saw how much they used him at the end of last season. He's going to be used again. He's a good running back. So I mean, as long as Tajay can get healthy, Pollard's rock solid for 4+ games, but you never know once he comes back.
yeah. Still not a lot of clarity on the Jawan Jennings injuries and contract situation. The Niners and him are still on a contract stalemate. It sounds like his availability for week 1 is in doubt with his. Is it a foot injury? Is it a knee injury? What is Jawan Jennings
I
dealing
think
with
it's
again
like
right now?
heel or
They're calling it
I
a
can't
calf.
Okay,
They're
calf.
calling it a calf. I think it's
sure.
a calf injury.
Yeah,
I think I don't know. I think this is about the contract.
that's what it seems
Okay.
like.
I don't. Matt Harmon did an AMA on Reddit today, and I was just browsing through some of the top comments, and he's like, I think he's actually hurt. I don't think it's contract but noise, but he's more of a Pearsall guy than a Jennings guy. But we're gonna get into both
For
players later
sure.
today. Other quick headlines: Jacoby Myers requested a trade, and Amari Cooper signs with the Raiders. Brian Robinson got traded to the 49ers to be the backup to Christian McCaffrey. And then one other injury of note: Caleb McGarry, the Falcons starting right tackle, he's out for the season. It'll be interesting to see if that affects your guys' opinion of Bijan, Drake London, Michael Penix, that whole offense. So, um, yeah, I guess any quick thoughts on the Falcons offense from either of you?
I'm still picking Bijan number 1, and I still like London. But I mean, it can certainly impact the offense in a decent way.
Yeah, he just still seems like the safest. It's like you're picking that guy that you feel like could be a safe RB1, and even if he isn't the RB1, I mean, I think Bajan still should be the 101 in drafts.
Yeah, I think it might hurt Penix and Kyle Pitts the most.
Not Kyle
Um,
Pitts, right when he was gaining steam.
dude, Kyle Pitts has been getting too much of that late round tight end steam, and I'm not here for it. All right, enough of the headlines. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. What everyone's here for this week. It's our my guys. I don't know if you're live streaming with us. You can see my title. I picked Malik Neighbors last year. Garrett, your title is you traded for Malik
I
Neighbors
did.
last year. And Braden, your title is you're the reigning champion of the Gimme Some League. So take that as you will for all 3 of our opinions tonight on our my guys. But We'll start it out with quarterback. I think we just talk about both of our picks. So we've got kind of a our actual my guy for each position, and then a
Yep,
deeper
I
pick
like it.
at each position as well. So my guy at quarterback this year, Drake May. He's ranked quarterback 15, and it's really all about the rushing upside and a second year quarterback taking a leap. They got a new offensive coordinator, uh, Josh McDaniels, and I just think that if he keeps up that rushing upside, there's really no way he doesn't outperform his QB 15 ranking, and he could easily finish as a top 8 guy and potentially be a league winner. I'm if I don't get one of the top 4 quarterbacks, I'm absolutely targeting Drake May as one of maybe 2 quarterbacks I ride for the first few weeks of the season to see if I can find someone who breaks out. But I'm in on Drake May this year as a target of my guy at quarterback, and for a deeper pick, I've got Bryce Young for the Panthers. He came on really strong at the end of the year. I like what Dave Canales is bringing to the coaching staff there, and if they continue to protect Bryce, they got Tedero McMillan, they got Adam Thielen for now. They got a bunch of young wide receivers that are getting better, and a young tight end and Jatavian Sanders. He's got a lot of weapons. I think that Bryce Young could absolutely become like a go-to streamer on bye weeks, and could potentially be a low end QB1, high end QB2 by the end of the season. So those are my 2 picks at quarterbacks. Any quick thoughts on
I
those?
like them both. Both similar guys for me. I really like Drake May. Best ball. I've been just targeting Bryce Young a ton. I think he's due for a big year.
Yeah, I'll say, don't have to say much. I feel the exact same way, both of them.
All right, Garrett, who are your quarterback picks?
For my guy at quarterback, I went with Brock Purdy. Um, I mean, he has a Week 14 bye and the league's easiest schedule up until then. So I mean, he's got some weapons back on offense here. I mean, we'll see what Ricky Pearsall can do, and if he can kind of unlock the offense a little bit, bring that Debo role. Jawan Jennings, hopefully he's not hurt long term for this case. But then with Kittle and the healthy McCaffrey, bad defense. I mean, they're probably going to be, they're going to need to score points. So I think he's got a lot of potential there, and then he's got running upside as well. I mean, not quite Drake May or Josh Allen, but I mean, week to week, he's going to give you some rushing upside. A little bit deeper, I went with Geno Smith. Um, I think the Ravens are going to be a good offense, or Raiders, sorry, are going to be a good offense, not the Ravens. But I mean, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, you got some of these rookies coming out here now, and then Ashton Genty as well. I mean, I could think this could be like the deep sleeper of also just offenses that could be sneaky good. And again, I don't think the team's going to be that good, and they're in a tough conference, teams that score a lot. So I could see them putting up a lot of points also.
Yeah, I like both those picks. Yeah, I think there's an absolute path for Purdy and for Gino. I've been in on both, so no disagreements for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 49ers are set for a huge bounce back, and then I'm with you on the Raiders offense. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Geno's an easy top 12 quarterback this year, honestly. Like
I think that's
sometimes I
about
wonder
like his
about him
ceiling, but
versus Goff. I almost like him more than Goff, but I also, the Dynasty League, I won't drop him because, he's ranked consensus higher, but I don't know. I really like that offense this year, honestly. All right, so with
Okay.
mine here, I'll get into my picks. So got Kyler Murray. So we're going with the post type sleeper here. He was everyone's analyst's favorite later round quarterback to go for last year. And I mean, if you look at the situation, nothing's really changed. I mean, they basically have the exact same offensive personnel. They got Marvin Harrison a year deeper, Trey McBride even more established. So the weapons, if anything, are getting better. Um, the offensive ecosystem's the same. It's kind of rare that you see, just having the same offensive coordinator. And that's both a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because I think that offensive coordinator wasn't necessarily the best, but I do think there's something to say about Murray just being a little more comfortable in that offense. And then another year off the leg injury, he's made comments about wanting to run more. We'll see. I still don't think he's some great quarterback, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has a huge bounce back this year. And then for my deeper pick, I went with Michael Penix. I think this guy's a baller, man. I think if you look last year, there was a small sample size, but he was just throwing bombs. Obviously has a great weapons around him. He might be tentative with that rushing upside, but if they ever do kind of open up and he wants to scramble, he has that speed. But I think he can just do it purely on passing. So he's just one that's kind of exciting that I'm excited to see this year.
I disagree with you. I think a little bit on just the Kyler Murray take. I'm not quite as high as Penix as you are, but I do like Michael Penix. I think I'm actually fading Murray a little bit at ADP. I just he has the upside, especially rushing. Um, but I just think he's bad. I just don't think he's a good quarterback. But I mean, you could be a bad quarterback
I,
and still finish top five.
that's the thing is he might not be the best real life quarterback, but he's a good fantasy quarterback. So I understand the take. Um, I'm also, I think, avoiding Kyler at ADP and not really targeting Penix. I'm kind of been growing on him all off season. I think all the second year quarterbacks are primed for leaps here in year two. Obviously, there's going to be one or two there or three that have a sophomore slump. JJ McCarthy notwithstanding. But I could see all of these quarterbacks having a good year. I think that outside the top four, pretty much everyone is in that same
Yep,
bucket. You've got Burrow and Mahomes and Baker that are kind of in that next little chunk, but in that QB 8 through 24 range, all of them could be top 12. Who knows?
agreed.
Um, all right. Well, those are my guys at quarterback. Let's move on to running back. My pick. I think it's going to be a little bit spicy compared to what the industry experts are saying, but I've got Kyron Williams as my guy at running back. He signed the contract. He's been a top 10 running back 2 years in a row, and there's just nothing on paper to show that he can't do it again. Um, I guess there are things on paper. That's why industry experts don't like him. He had high rush share the last couple of years, but who's to say that Sean McVay is not going to continue to give him the ball on 75% of the run plays? Like he's Sean McVay's guy. Sean McVay typically gives the ball to one running back, and they typically do really well in fantasy. So he's ranked RB 12. I probably have him ranked around like RB 9 or 10. I think JJ Zacharyson said that he thought Kyron would finish outside the top 18 as like his bold prediction. Um, so I'm on the opposite spectrum of JJ Zacharyson here for Kyron Williams, but I think that he's an absolute running back target for me, and I think that he's going to continue to produce this year, regardless of if Stafford's healthy or not. If Stafford gets hurt, I don't think that hurts Kyron at all. I think they'll run the ball more, and if Stafford's healthy, then that offense is going to be great, and Kyron's going to get more red zone opportunities. So, um, you know, if it's kind of similar with Achan in Miami, is like if their pass offense sucks, well then Achan's going to get more rushes, and if their offense is humming, then Achan's going to get more high quality looks. So, um, I'm in on Kyron this year, and for my deeper sleeper pick at running back, I've got Austin Eckler for the Washington Commanders. Obviously, we talked about how they traded Brian Robinson to the 49ers. So we've got a running back room of Austin Eckler, Chris Rodriguez, and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, aka Bill. And I just think Austin Eckler is going to be the number one fantasy running back on that team. He's going to get the high quality targets. He'll be in on the 2 minute drills. He's maybe not going to be the top scoring running back for 6 or 8 weeks out of the season, but he's going to be consistent. He's going to have spike weeks. So I expect Austin Eckler to outscore his RB 39 ADP. So what are you guys' thoughts on my two picks at running back there?
I agree with you, especially on Kyron. I like Austin Eckler a lot too. Um, I'm also higher on Kyron than consensus for the same reasons. I mean, 2 top 10 finishes in a row. Like that's stability that you just can't get elsewhere. And sure, they drafted Jarquez, but he's probably behind Corum, maybe. At least he is today. And I just don't see this going any other way other than injury causing him to slow down. That he's not going to get 75% of the looks.
Yeah, you guys know me. I've been a little bit of a historical fader of Kyron, but I think, it's finally gotten to the point where well, I guess I don't know what his ADP was in the last few years, but it feels like his price is pretty palatable this year. So, and I mean, I expect him to do the same thing. I do worry about the injury risk and the receiving upside as usual, but he's done it twice in a row. I mean, why couldn't he do it 3 times?
Hey. All right, Garrett. Who are your running back, my guys,
I'm
this
going
year?
with everyone's darling, Travion Henderson. He's just been screaming up the boards as well, especially just with a really, really good preseason. Just looked absolutely electric. Takes a kick return to the house. He has, I think, 2 other touchdowns in the preseason, one in each game. He just looks so explosive. And you had your my guy as Drake May at quarterback. He's gonna need weapons Zach. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I was gonna say he's just gonna make that offense just go. If Drake May is gonna be good, that means his weapons have got to be good. They're gonna score a lot of points. I don't think he's gonna lead the team in rushing attempts, but I think he's definitely going to in yards and be in on the 2 minute drill. And this is kind of like that David Montgomery, Jameer Gibbs light all over again. This thing could take a couple weeks, but man, come end of the season, you might have a league winner on your hands. And then my deeper one is Braylon Allen. My kind of spicy take is I don't think Brees Hall is going to finish the season on the Jets. I think that a trade to another team is maybe not even likely, but probable. Like it's probably going to happen. Um, and then Braylon Allen just steps into a role where these guys absolutely love him, and could just be an awesome running back. And even if not, if he's the David Montgomery, Jameer Gibbs again, not to make this comparison twice, but with Aaron Glenn there from the Lions, that's the way they think offenses should run. And Braylon's a bruiser; he could easily have that high touchdown upside potential each week.
It's a copycat league, so I think both your picks make a lot of sense. I'm shocked to see that Travion is still ranked RB20. If Kyron's at RB12, I would expect Travion to be like RB
I
14,
know.
15. Like he's right in that next tier for me. Um, what are your thoughts here, Braden?
Yeah, no, I mean, Henderson, I feel like he's got those spike weeks. I am a little bit worried about the floor week to week, but I mean, he's also at that point where you can still get at least a starting running back, and then he can inject that kind of volatility in your lineup, and he could put up those 30-point weeks for all we know with the way he can return stuff. So no, I think he's a super exciting pick, and I also you'll see later I'm fading Brees, and so I mean Braylon Allen's the logical person to pick that up. So no, great picks.
All right, Braden, who are your running back, my
All
guys?
right, I'm going with RJ Harvey, and this is one earlier in the offseason I was a little bit skeptical with him, but I think the J.K. Dobbins kind of, it feels like people are kind of overvaluing J.K. Dobbins just a little bit. I'm not saying that I think necessarily he's going to be getting the higher snap share to begin the year, but the upside with Harvey is insane. I mean, if you look at Javante last year, the guy was a net negative with every touch he had, but he almost he might have led, or he was at least in the top 3 for receptions for running backs. I mean, if they even give 2/3 of that to RJ Harvey, he's so much more explosive. He can do so much with it. The guy's, he's got great contact balance. He's fast. I just think there's a ton of upside there. And then obviously they're viewed as an ascending offense too. So at RB24, I mean, I think the guy is a great upside pick. And I think people forget he was drafted in the second round too. Then going a little bit deeper, there's been a lot of buzz about Charbonnet lately, and haven't been targeting him throughout the whole offseason, but there's been a lot of buzz, and you can't, it's getting to the point where you can't really ignore it. I do wonder if Charbonnet is going to get some more work this year, and then obviously he already was one of the top handcuffs in fantasy football. But if he can work as a flex plus, that's all the better. Plus getting that upside, so I think he's just a great target right now too.
Yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire. So I like both those picks a lot, and Yeah, I think rookie running backs, you guys each picked one, are one of the best bets to outperform ADP in fantasy and become those league winners. So I can't fault you for any of those
Nope, I like
picks.
them both too. I really like Charbonnet this year. I think he's the top handcuff in fantasy football. So it's yeah, if you can get flex appeal each week, man, that's a good value pick right there.
All right, let's move on to our wide receiver, my guys. And I'm kicking it off with Devonta Smith, the Philadelphia Eagles. He's ranked wide receiver 24. And I'm all in on Devonta this year. Like I'm willing to reach, a good round above ADP to get him. I just think that the Eagles offense is due for some serious pass volume regression. I think they ran the ball like 57% of the time last year, which is one of the highest rates of the last 10 years. Um, and Devonta Smith is an elite number two wide receiver. He'd be a wide receiver one on a quarter of the teams out there. Maybe half the teams out there. I don't know. And yeah, I just think if AJ Brown gets hurt, if the tight end Goddard gets hurt, like that passing volume's only going to go up for Devonta. And I just I think he's an automatic start in that wide receiver two slot. It could be a flex for teams in fantasy. Just he's going around that, I don't know, pick 50 range. So yeah, I'm in on Devonta Smith as my guy at wide receiver, and then deeper pick. I went super deep here, but like I got to go with my guy. Like this is a guy that I've been all in on all off season. I've been telling people you got to pick him with the last rounded pick in your drafts because I just believe in him. It's Demario Douglas for the New England Patriots, slot wide receiver. He's just been getting all the praise out of camp this year. When Stephon Diggs was recovering from his rehab, it was every highlight was like, "Oh, Demario Douglas won the day. Oh, Demario Douglas, he's getting open, he's catching everything." And if I've got Drake May as my quarterback, I want to have Demario Douglas as my wide receiver, and I think that he's a safe floor play, but he's got upside if he can actually get some of those end zone targets and instead of getting 1 to 3 touchdowns, he jumps up to that 6 to 8 range and he gets 1,000 yards on 100 catches. You're looking at a top 24 potential wide receiver here. I think that he could lead the Patriots in targets, catches, yards this year. So I'm all in on Demario Douglas as like a last round pick of the draft, and hopefully he becomes a flex worthy play.
Man, we're just a lot in agreement here today. I love some Demario Douglas. Easily up there in best ball as one of my most drafted players. Uh, I agree for all the reasons you do. Um, I think yeah, he could definitely surprise some people this year. Josh McDaniels is back. And he loves himself some slot receivers and just those easy passes. And Demario could just feast.
Yeah, I mean, both of these guys are definitely been targets for me throughout the off season, and I've already traded for Devonta Smith in 2 dynasty leagues this year, so if that's any indicator, I'm definitely in on Devonta Smith.
Love that. All right, Garrett, wide receiver, my guys.
Yeah, I'm realizing right now as I'm about to say this that my guy is technically lower ranked than my deeper pick. But both are wide receiver threes in ranking, fringe wide receiver fours. First is Emeka Egbuka. Uh, Wide receiver 37 is just ridiculous. That is not what a true industry like thought process ranking is at this point, but it is where his ADP is. And I'm shocked that and it might happen before draft day that ESPN is going to move him up 40 slots, but right now he's like wide receiver 40 something on ESPN. And the opportunity is just he's probably the best receiver on the team right now. Um,
I mean, they have a Hall of
I'm
Famer in
saying
Mike
in
Evans.
terms of just age, ability, where he's going to move around the field, healthy at least. I mean, once Chris Godwin's back, I like Chris Godwin probably more than a Igbuka if he's healthy. But I mean, he could be absolutely be a top 12 wide receiver. We've seen Chris Godwin and Mike Evans both beast in this offense before, and if Igbuka can play that role for a little bit even, and he just win the role, I mean, he could be so good. So a deeper pick, who's wide receiver 36, is Ricky Pearsall, and I mean, Jawan Jennings might be hurt. Who knows? But Ricky Pearsall's coming into just a huge like vacated targets number. He's been getting the same kind of praise around camp that those Igbukas and Demario Douglas. It just seems like every other play was a Pearsall highlight. He's been the only receiver healthy in training camp as well, which hasn't helped. So um, I think he's going to be really good. I think they're both going to just absolutely smash their ADPs.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue it. I mean, I've been a huge Igbuka fan all off season, and that was just with thinking that Chris Godwin was out, and then now you had Jalen McMillan. And then, just over the offseason, I've definitely started to sour a little bit on Evans. I just think, I think he'll get his 1,000 yards. I just, I think the fall off has started. He's not getting as many deep targets, things like that. So there's a lot of opportunity, and he's an Ohio State receiver. I mean, that's like the safest wide receiver prospect you can
Has been for a
find.
while now.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I don't get one of Egbuka or Pearsall in our draft next week, I'm going to be pretty sad. I think those are like the two biggest risers this offseason that everyone's like, these are the mid round, league winning guys. So um, it'll be interesting to see if they're going at wide receiver 36, 37 right now, where they go in our actual draft next week.
Not there.
All right, Braid. No, probably not there. Braden, who are your wide receiver, my guys?
All right, I'm starting off with George Pickens, and he's one historically I haven't been massive follower or huge fan. He hasn't been a huge target for me, but I mean, you just can't deny the opportunity here. I mean, you got Dak Prescott, who I think has the best chance of really anyone of throwing 30 plus touchdowns. Maybe, really if anyone throws 40 touchdowns this year, I think it could be Dak. So you add that in there, and then I mean, who do we have there? I mean, it's really CeeDee Lamb, who's going to get his, of course. Jake Ferguson, who solid tight end, but he's no difference maker. And then you got George Pickens, and with CeeDee Lamb taking all the defensive attention, I think he's just going to eat. And then you add in the running. I mean, the running back room is. I'm betting on the Javonte Williams comeback train, but who knows what's going to happen there. So, I mean, I just feel like they'll be so much quicker to abandon the run and just huck it up to George Pickens deep. So, I mean, I think if there's any receiver in that round that can get 10 plus touchdowns, it's George Pickens. And then deeper, we'll go back to the 49ers wide receiver room. I'm going with Jawan Jennings. I just have this feeling that next week there's going to be he's going to get a pay bump and he's going to be back on the field like nothing happened. But I mean, even where he's going at his ADP, I mean, you can take on the risk until they figure that out. But this guy just, if there's a dog meter, 10 out of 10. I mean, the guy has worked his way up from nothing. You saw him go absolutely off last year. And, we already know the state of the wide receiver room there. I just think that he's just too good at even with how slow he is. He's just too good at making space, making catches for this offense. I think it's going to be very tight between Pearsall and Jennings. I get why going Pearsall, but I think Jennings just has a very safe, great role, locked in target share in this offense.
They could both eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love these picks. I love Braden's dog meter. He's able to find these guys that just have that dog in them. I think Jennings is on that trajectory of like a poor man's Adam Thielen, where he just gets open. He's got good hands. If he's healthy, even if he's not healthy, let's say he misses a week or two, once he's on the field, I could absolutely see him earning those targets. And I think we all like the 49ers offense this year. And I'm all in on the Cowboys. We'll talk about them more later for sure. So like the Pickens pick there could be like the steal of the draft. No one really wants to draft Pickens, and I just don't get it. I think that he's gonna way outperform his ADP. Last group here of my guys, tight ends. I'll start it off. I'm going with everyone's favorite, late round tight end, Tucker Kraft, ranked tight end 10. He's just I don't know where he ranks on Braden's dog meter, but he absolutely has some of that dog in him. He was a yak monster. kind of in that George Kittle range where you just get the ball in his hands and he's trucking a guy and getting an extra 10 yards. He can just fight once he gets the ball in his hands. So I think that the Packers are going to really try to feature him and make him, a top 2 target on the team. And if he gets that target share increase, there's no reason Tucker Kraft can't be a top 5 tight end by the end of the season. And then my deeper pick at tight end is the old man Zach Ertz. Besides having an elite name, he had an elite year last year, and Jaden Daniels loved to pepper Zach Ertz. I think he's still the number 2 target in that offense. They obviously brought in Debo Samuel, but he's not really a typical wide receiver. He's more of a screen guy, slant guy, and get the ball in his hands and go. Whereas Zach Ertz is your old reliable, your red zone target, your third down target. So I just think that if you need to do a you know bye week tight end, or you just want to have consistent production at tight end, Zach Ertz is going to be a safe pick there at tight end 18.
Agreed. Tucker Kraft is just. I'm surprised he's still ranked tight end 10 here. I mean, the way that people talk about him seems like he might be making a leap pretty soon here too, in ADP or just where he's ranked. But yeah, I think the potential for a huge season is there.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny the talent. My one concern is just, is it actually going to happen, right? Are they going to feature him, or is it going to be the same old Green Bay offense, just spreading out targets wherever? I'm a little skeptical of that, but if they choose to, I mean, he will absolutely be. I mean, he has the tools to be an elite tight end.
Yeah, and I mean, Braden's always been raving about George Kittle and his ability to spike for a 30-point week, and you can live through the 6-point weeks because at the tight end position, that's a real
Right.
difference maker. Half the league is only going to start tight ends that get 5 or 6 points, so you can survive the down weeks if he's giving you those boom weeks. So I like those guys. All right, Garrett, who are your tight end, my
Yeah.
guys?
My guy, tight end, Evan Ingram. He's a new face, new place, same face, new place kind of guy here. Um, I think that a second receiving option on that team is just wide open. We've seen Sean McVay have some fun with athletic tight ends before, and Jimmy Graham was really good for a long time there. I mean, he's not Jimmy Graham, but he. I think he's going to get a ton of targets. He's just a super athlete as well. I wouldn't put him in the Tucker Kraft, George Kittle range, but he's going to catch a lot of balls. So um, I think he's easily going to hit his tight end 9, bearing injury. Health has always been the biggest thing with him. Um, and then I think he's got that top 5 tight end potential also. Then Brenton Strange, taking over the Evan Ingram role over in Jacksonville. Now you have Liam Cohen going over there. I know. I think we probably all like the Jacksonville offense this year and the receiving options there. And when you have that many weapons, I think if this offense could surprise people as well. And if it does, Brenton Strange is probably third on that target list there, and I could see him having a pretty decent year. I think he's a lock to be a top 20 tight end, um, and he could even sneak into the top 12 with just a good offense there.
Yeah, no, I'll be honest. I was really in on Evan Ingram and all the Joker talk. I've started to sour on him a little bit just because in the preseason Adam Troutman was rotating it a lot, and I know Sean Payton with his guys
Nah.
is so that was the whole bane of Greg Dulcich was he'd always rotate in Adam Troutman. So that's my only worry. Plus he's always been kind of a volume centric guy, not a ton of touchdowns, but I mean the opportunity is definitely there for sure.
Yeah, I think Ben Albright recently had a tweet about Evan Ingram and how he is going to be a dominant target hog for Denver. So he's been moving up in my best ball drafts. I'm like, all right, let's get some exposure here. Besides Cortland Sutton, he could absolutely be a top 2 target on that offense. So I like both those tight ends. Brenton Strange, a name that most people hadn't really heard of before this year, but I believed in him. I still have him on my dynasty roster. I've been trying to drop him, but there's just I got faith that he could be
I think
something,
I have
you
him in the
know?
other dynasty league. I've been holding on to Brenton Strange for a couple of years here.
All right, Braden, who are your tight end my guys? Wrap us
All
up.
right, I'm going with Mark Andrews. I think people aren't factoring in enough his whole tightrope procedure last year. I really think that's what he was dealing with. Plus, he had that car crash right before the season. So the snap shares were off, and it usually takes about a year for these guys to get back into the fold. And if that's the case, I mean, Mark Andrews, I mean, he still caught. I think it was still. I mean, he was still a mid tight end. I think he
He has
caught
15
double digit
touchdowns.
touchdowns. Yeah, something insane. So obviously, I mean, he's got the red zone ability, obviously due for some regression, but I think he's going to make up for it with more volume, just being back to his normal self. There is the threat of likely he's starting off a little slow with that foot fracture, but there's something, there's difference in talking about it in the preseason and actually doing it. We've seen where Likely just has played second fiddle to Andrews. I mean, last year obviously Likely had that big week one, and then nothing happened. So, I'm not denying the threat of it, but there's also just a chance that we see out of just the same old Mark Andrews out there, and he's back to his normal health, and he's still only 29. That's not super old for a tight end. So, he's still a little more costly than some of these other ones, but I think he's a great upside pick there. Um, and then going deeper, this this has been a little more recent that I've been jumping on this train, but it's Kyle Pitts. Um, I definitely would rather take the rookie tight ends and some of these other guys before him. But I mean, when you're looking at Jake Ferguson or some of these other tight ends that we kind of know where they are, and yeah, they have that touchdown upside. But then you have Kyle Pitts, who has that touchdown upside and the athletic ability, still only 24. Darnell Mooney is out, and we don't know when he'll be back. So, I mean, he has the opportunity. He just has to seize it. We've been saying this for years, but this price, I mean, the upside again is just undeniable. I'm fully expecting him to not do what he's done this whole time. But if you're taking a shot and you're just going to be looking at streaming tight ends anyways, why not take the upside shot?
I want to believe in Kyle
Yeah,
Pitts so bad. I so badly want to believe in him, and I just can't. I,
I'm with you,
It's so
Garrett.
gross.
I thought there was like a 2 week period where I was like, you know what, Kyle Pitts, he's gonna do it. This is finally gonna be his year. And then I'm
no,
like, nope, you
no,
can't
it's
get me
not.
again. No way.
Not again. I was gonna draft him in Dynasty over
Yeah,
Jamar if I could make the trade to go get him. And man, that would have been crazy.
that would have been haunting you
Yeah.
forever. So, all right, those are our my guys. I like most of them. I'm standing strong on our takes, and we'll kind of update you throughout the season on if we were right, if we were wrong, and we'll do a recap at the end of the season. But we've got a bunch more guys that we want to talk about that we are targeting and fading at their ADP. We're just giving you all the recommendations, so we'll try to go through this list a little bit quicker, but let's let's go through our targets at each position, and just a quick little why you're in on them, and yeah, let's just go through a bunch more guys here. So for my ADP target at quarterback, I've got Dak Prescott. He's ranked quarterback 10. He's going 85th overall. I actually don't think that's true. I mean, depends on the platform really, but at quarterback 10, we talked about George Pickens as Braden's my guy. I just think this passing volume is going to go way up. I think CD Lamb is going to feast, could be wide receiver 1 overall this year. George Pickens is going to get a ton of looks, and their run game just is very shaky at best. So I expect Dak Prescott to just have a monster volume season. It's an odd year. He was hurt last year. He's going to be healthy this year. It's if you miss out on those top 4 quarterbacks, I think Dak Prescott could absolutely be a good target at quarterback for you. Who's your target at
I'm
quarterback,
going
Garrett?
with Justin Fields, but honestly, I think like every quarterback, 7 through 19, there's not many guys I don't like, especially at ADP. I think it's just a deep class, but Justin Fields, kind of for the same reason I was knocking on Kyler, I just think you get better value with Justin Fields and real boomer bust kind of guy, but the rushing floor could just be there for you, especially if that offense is bad and they're behind in games. So I think he's due to be a QB1 pretty safely until he gets benched. or or gets cut. I mean, at that point you can just drop him and you're fine. But when he plays, I think he's going to be a decent quarterback.
Like it. Braden, who's your QB target?
Yeah, Zach already mentioned him earlier, and I'm going with Drake May. I think I'd much rather get these elite quarterbacks if I can, but if you do have to punt the position, I mean he's the closest guy that I think could actually have, be that great passer and be a rush forward quarterback at the same time, kind of in the later rounds, and it's actually showed something. So it's definitely one of those where you could jump in and be underwhelming, but if you're picking that late anyways, you're probably expecting to have to stream anyways. You're just going for the upside. So no, I like Drake May there for sure.
Love it. All right. Running back target for me, J.K. Dobbins. Braden, his my guy's R.J. Harvey. I've got the other Denver running back here. Sounds like they're going to start the season out in a 50-50-ish split. I think that Dobbins is going to get a little bit more work in the early season, and the offenses of Sean Payton have proven to support two running backs in the past. Like he spreads the ball, but he also gives the running backs a ton of targets and a ton of opportunities, and they've got a really good offensive line. So I have been aggressively targeting J.K. Dobbins as an RB3, RB4, RB5, depending on whatever my team build is. Just because I think he's going to give me a lot of early season production until I can, maybe find a rookie running back later in the season to break out. So I'm in on J.K. Dobbins at ADP. How about you,
J.K.
Garrett?
Dobbins can't keep getting away with this, Zach. Every single year, other than with the year he gets hurt, he's always like this, like back end of the draft pick, and he just keeps delivering for you whenever he plays. So I like that. But I went with Tyrone Tracy. Um, Zach, we've talked about him a lot this offseason. Me and you have at least. I know we both like him in the Giants' offense. The Cam Scattaboo injury just kind of like cemented that. Him being the running back one, the hype out of camp has been that he's the RB1. It's never been a competition. Scattaboo's going to play. He played the last preseason games, kind of surprisingly. So he did make it back. But I think Tyrone Tracy's definitely going to have the opportunity here. He just needs to hold on to the ball. And if he does that, then um, to the moon.
Love it. All right, Braden, your running back target.
Yeah, and I'm noticing a theme here. It seems like it's really great. These running backs are really great when you're looking for that. If you're going hero RB and you're looking for that, you want to hammer receiver in these other positions and get a good second RB that's going to get volume. So I went with Ramondre Stevenson. And I'm a huge Travion supporter, and I think he's going to do great. But I also think that Ramondre Stevenson's going to still get his. Josh McDaniels has always had a thumper to go with the receiving back, and Travion's a little more, you know, talented than some of his past receiving backs, but I still think he's going to have that LeGarrette Blunt style guy in his offense. And I think Ramondre is more talented than LeGarrette was too. So I think, if this offense takes a step forward, he's, he could be a candidate for, 8 something touchdowns and he'll still get his. So, and especially earlier in the season. So yeah, just a good kind of hero RB, late RB target that's going super late in drafts.
Yeah, you can definitely get him super cheap. My wide receiver target, Matthew Golden. So I think this one's also a little spicy, but just because I think ESPN actually has him ranked like 80th overall, and 80 like ADP and Fantasy Pros is closer to like 100 overall. But even at that 80 mark, I'm in on Matthew Golden. I think we mentioned it last week. He's got a lot of camp buzz, and I just think that he could be the number one target earner, or at least the big play guy for the Packers offense. And I expect their passing volume to go up this year. So I'm in on Matthew Golden at ADP. How about you, Garrett?
Yeah, I went with Roma Dunze, wide receiver 33. My spicy take is I think he's going to be the top receiver in that offense. And DJ Moore's there, but I think this is Rome's year to kind of win over that offense. And I mean, at wide receiver 33, I think he's locked for good enough volume to beat that pretty safely. Even if he doesn't really like hit that huge boom that I think he could.
All right, Braden, your wide receiver target.
Yeah, I'm going with Calvin Ridley. He's at wide receiver 27. Um, I just think, he's led the league in air yards last year. He was one of the top guys. He's still talented. there's just no one really else there. So the real question is Cam Ward good enough to get it to him? And I think, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't even know if it'll matter because I just think he's just going to hyper target him. So, I just feel like wide receiver 27 is his floor. I think there's going to be some inconsistencies, but I mean, the guy's locked in for a ton of volume, and then he has the talent to do a lot with it.
Yeah, he's absolutely going to get that volume. All right, tight end targets at ADP. I'm going with tight end 3 overall, George Kittle. I'm in on the top 3 tight ends. George Kittle's the cheapest of them. I think that I'm if you can't get a top 3 tight end, you're best waiting. And yeah, I think George Kittle as tight end 3, going in the mid 30s, absolutely a target of mine. Go get him. Garrett, who's your tight end
I went with
target?
Tyler Warren. I think this one is you don't really know much. Rookie tight ends have been better in the last couple of years, but I think the Daniel Jones announcing of the starter was huge for him. I think you have a somewhat accurate passer, somebody that can at least complete a pass, especially like short field throws. That's kind of where Daniel Jones lives, and I think Tyler Warren's going to see a lot of that work along with Josh Downs. So I think he's in for a safe floor week to week volume, and then touchdown can kind of put him over the edge. But I think he's for sure gonna beat that ADP.
All right. Yeah, he's got rushing upside as well. Braden, who is your tight end
Yeah,
target?
I'm going to Jake Ferguson. He's not someone that I'm trying to, I'm targeting to be on my team. But when you're punting the tight end position and you start losing out on the upside of the rookie tight ends or things like that, it's really just a touchdown bet at that point. And I don't think Jake Ferguson is super talented, but I do think of any of these tight ends in this range, he's the most likely to get the most touchdowns. I think he has a chance that outlier season where he gets 10 touchdowns as a tight end just because they're in the red zone so much. So, I don't think he'll be a season long, all year, but I think he'll be a great streamer and a great, if you want to maybe draft like a Colston Loveland, throw him on your bench, start with Jake Ferguson and let that, upside tight end develop. I think he's a great guy to leave your draft with.
All right. So far we've only talked about guys we love, guys we're targeting. And I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time here on the guys we're fading, guys we don't really like at ADP. I think that let's name our one guy from each position all together. So I'll go first. I'll name my quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end that I'm out on. Maybe give one sentence about each. But quarterback, I'm out on Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he just hasn't been hit the last few years. I don't anticipate him having more rushing upside, and that Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift engagement gives a lot of ambiguity there. So I'm out on Patrick Mahomes. My running back, James Conner. I'm just a believer in Trey Benson making a second year leap. I think James Conner's getting older. I'm just not betting on him at ADP. Tyreek Hill, he's got 4,000 red flags right now. So he's just pretty much been moved off my draft board entirely. And then Mark Andrews at tight end. I just can't see myself clicking it. I like Isaiah Likely. He's in doubt to maybe be back for week 1, but I just I don't see the path for Mark Andrews. I think he's aging out. I think that I'm not targeting him at ADP for tight end either. So Garrett, who are your fades at all 4
Yeah, for
positions?
me, quarterback Baker Mayfield. I like Baker, just just not at QB7. He's going too high above these other guys, and I just think there's a tier drop off after Burrow. Um, and then for running back, I'm with Alvin Kamara. It's kind of a similar story. I just think the offense is going to be really bad. He's going to get volume, but like RB16 might be really hard to hit for him. 40 overall. I mean, I'd so much rather have some other wide receivers with upside and stuff in that range. Um, MHJ, Marvin Harrison Jr. is my wide receiver. Very similar reasons for Alvin Kamara. I kind of. I mean, he just wasn't good last year. He didn't deliver to anywhere near the hype. I think he's a solid receiver. I think he'll do fine. He's not the top target earner in his offense, and he won't be this year. So I think he's gonna have a tough time being that like wide receiver 2. I think he's probably closer to wide receiver 3 range. And then tight end Sam Laporta. again, it's not that I even dislike Laporta. It's just I really dislike Laporta as tight end 4. Um, I mean, I think there's just like I just don't know where the upside, like how high the upside can go. I think it's going to be an okay floor. No better than Evan Ingram or Tucker Kraft on the floor, and then the ceiling is probably the exact same. So I might as well grab somebody 40 or 50 picks later.
Yeah, I get it. All right, Braden, who are your fades at the 4
All right,
positions?
I'm going with Joe Burrow, which some are putting up in that tier with the top quarterbacks. I think it's another thing, kind of like Baker, where I don't. It's not that I dislike Joe Burrow. I mean, he's got great weapons, great receivers. I just think they're due for some regression, and everything went right last year. But I'm not counting on a repeat, but I'd rather take a pocket passer later if I'm going to like soak up that wide receiver value, get like a Dak Prescott later maybe or something if I'm going for a pocket passer. Um, Brees Hall is my running back. I mean, the other two RBs you guys mentioned, Connor and Kamara, I think I'd rather have them than Brees, honestly, at this point. The vibes are bad. I think that offense is not going to be great. And then you also have Fields, taking away receptions and taking away runs. So I don't know. Just the vibes are all bad, splitting work. My wide receiver, it's DJ Moore. And I think, this one could he just feels very volatile. We just don't know what his role is going to be. There's a lot of bad vibes going around it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out and he actually is a top 12 wide receiver. That's the thing, but it's just so hard to press that button when it feels like a complete wild card. So I've been avoiding him. And then my tight end is Evan Ingram. You know, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I'm just a little bit worried about some Sean Payton shenanigans and Adam Troutman, and I just think Ingram needs the volume to be a mid tight end one. So I'm just worried that he might not get that volume.
Understandable, man. Well, thank you both for sharing your fades, but we've got one more fun segment to get through before we wrap up the podcast. Each year we track an ambiguous few wide receiver rooms. This year it's a little bit more difficult, so we've combined tight ends in with a couple of these picks. So yeah, we're gonna just run through a few teams that have ambiguous receiver rooms, and each pick a guy that we think is going to be the top scorer throughout the year, and track the stats in our spreadsheets, and see how we do with picking these ambiguous rooms. Are you guys ready to go through uh, the first group?
Yeah, and reminder, these are drafts. We can't all pick the same guy. We're all picking. Yeah, everyone
Absolutely.
ends up with someone different. We get different orders each time.
Yep, we'll pick different orders. If you don't want to pick first here, that's fine. Throw it away. First room here is the Packers. We got Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, Tucker Kraft. Does anyone really want to plant their flag on a guy right away and have this first
I,
pick?
I can just take one for the team unless somebody really wants it. But anyone? No.
I I I would pick
Okay.
Matthew
If
Golden,
you want
Garrett.
Matthew Golden, you take him.
I was not going to pick Matthew
I'll
Golden,
absolutely
so
take him. All right, I'll pick first with the Packers. I got Matthew Golden. All right, who wants Jaden Reed? And who wants Tucker Kraft?
I was personally leaning Jaden Reed.
Okay, sweet. I
All
like
right.
Tucker Kraft. I think he's got a decent shot to be the best guy there.
All right. I can't pick first on this next one here. We got the Patriots room. Stephon Diggs, Demario Douglas, or the combination of Kyle Williams and Hunter Henry.
Braden, you want to go first?
I'm going to go the combination of Kyle Williams and Hunter
All right.
Henry.
Love that. I think this one is just spelling itself out. I think I'm a Demario guy. Garrett, you're a
Yeah, I,
Diggs
th- I think
guy.
that's perfect. I would have went
Uh,
Diggs number one. I think these combinations. This is the first time we're doing this. We haven't given it any thought. But
that's
but
okay.
but those could just crush these other ones. Just like if Hunter Henry has
It could be a
a
cheat
10
code,
touchdown season, it could be
right?
Kyle Williams plus Hunter Henry and 10 touchdowns. So they could just blow them
we'll
away.
we'll find out at the end of the year. All right, next room: Jerry Judy, David Njoku, or the combination of Cedric Tillman and Harold Fannin. Garrett, you haven't picked first. Do you feel confident about any of these
Yeah,
groups?
before we added the combination, I was gonna be okay with Cedric Tillman, so I'm gonna take the combination. I
Yeah,
think Tillman's due for a pretty solid year. Um, yeah,
that one we might have to take away Fannin
we
from you
might
if
need to
if he
we
just
we
outright
might need to
wins
take
it.
away Fannin. I was just saying that,
That's okay.
disclaimer, could take him out.
Okay. Braden, do you feel confident on either Jerry Judy or David
I'll
Njoku?
defer to you.
Okay. You know what? I'm a Jerry Judy guy. So I'll pick Judy here.
Okay, I think I was leaning in
You
Joku,
cool with
so
David?
that works perfect.
I
Wonderful.
think you have to take out
Everything's working
Fannin.
out.
I don't
Okay.
think. Yeah, I'm
You'll
just
just
gonna
straight
straight up take Cedric
Tillman
Tillman
here.
and still be okay with that.
Love it. All right, next room here. We got the Buffalo Bills. We got Khalil Shakir. We got Keon Coleman, and we got the combination of Josh Palmer and Dalton Kincaid. Again, I don't know if we need to combine Josh Palmer with Dalton Kincaid. Is there
Is it like
another
Elijah
Buffalo
Moore?
wide receiver?
Is he on the team? Or
Yeah,
Curtis Samuel? Curtis
that's what I'm
Samuel.
thinking. Yeah.
Man, I feel like I'm so down on Dalton Kincaid. I feel like that's all a wash.
I mean,
But
Dalton Kincaid's gonna get you points. It's not like
no, yeah.
0.
No, it's true. It's true. This guy lost me
Yeah,
my league last year.
how's this sound? I'll take Elijah Moore plus Dalton Kincaid.
Yuck.
You'll let
Yeah,
me
we'll
have
let you
that?
have that.
Wonderful. They're so good. Um, all right. So then, who wants Khalil Shakir? Who wants Keon Coleman?
I want Coleman.
Braden
Can I switch out Shakir for Palmer?
You just
for Josh Palmer?
Shakir isn't healthy right now, right?
I mean, it sounds like he's hoping to play week one.
he's gonna be close. If he doesn't play, I think that season long, we're probably gonna go by points average anyway,
I
unless
think beginning of the year I would have gone Shakir before the injury, but I think I might be leaning Josh Palmer.
Well,
that.
all right. I'm gonna change my pick then. I'll pick Khalil Shakir. You can have Josh Palmer and Garrett. You want
Yeah,
Keon Coleman?
for sure.
Yeah. Sorry, no Dalton Kincaid stands. We'll give that pick to Matt. He loves Dalton Kincaid this year. And then last room, the Colts: Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Tyler Warren. I am absolutely in on one of these guys. Is it all right if I say who it is first?
Yeah, you taking Josh
Go ahead.
Downs?
I want
Yeah,
Josh
makes
Downs so
sense.
bad.
Um, Braden, I'll let you go.
I'm
You a Pittman or a Tyler Warren
Warren
guy?
all day.
Interesting. I
Okay.
thought you were gonna go Pittman. I think Pittman's got a shot to be the best guy there. So
Oh yeah,
I'm okay there.
absolutely. Okay. Well, we'll be tracking these ambiguous receiver rooms throughout the season and see how that goes. But yeah, we are going to be kicking off the regular, week one weekly podcast, picking our budding stars, doing our who's higher segment, where we do a value check on each player. Got our stone cold picks of the week, our starts, our sits, our sleepers, and a random pick. We've got our dank flex plays, our rapid fire, where we look at 5 matchups and pick which guy is flex worthy and who we think is going to score more in a specific matchup each week. And then we'll be coming back with the snacks. We're bringing back the munchies. We got new snacks to try each week. So looking forward to that. Might talk a little bit of Minnesota Vikings at the end as we're going through things, but we're going to be getting into all that next week. We'll also probably be recapping our fantasy draft that we're doing on Tuesday night, trying to go live with the podcast right after the draft is done and kind of get some immediate reactions there and see how our teams look. But yeah, that's all we've got for you this week. Anything else you guys want to quick highlight?
Nothing else to highlight. Just welcome back, guys. We made it. The next time we meet and all talk together, it's going to be post draft and 1 or 2 days before the start of the NFL season. It's going to be great.
I'm pumped, guys. Great preseason wrap up, and I can't believe we're already hitting week one here. That's crazy.
Crazy.
All right. Well, until next time. Later, dudes.
Later, dudes.
Later, dude.